Welcome to Raising Excellence, and today on the show I have Ephraim Grubbs, a local football coach and a military veteran, decorated military veteran. Hey Coach, welcome to the show. Welcome to Raising Excellence.
Thank you, Mike.
So excited to have you here. You know, this is our first show, and when I thought about all the people we could have here today, I said, man, I gotta have Coach E.
Honored. Thank you.
Gotta have you in here. And you know, I have to say that one of the reasons why is because I was so impressed. The first time we went, and you know, I took Carson out to the first JV. We took him out to the practice, and I remember that parent meeting, you know, in the first practice. And it was just, I watched what you did with these kids, and I watched how you resonated with the kids, with the parents, how passionate you were, your emotion, how everything was tied in, how everything was just the amount of structure you had and the amount of respect and congruency. It was just, it was amazing. And to watch these kids go through the practices and do what you did was really so amazing. You know, so I've been in, obviously, martial arts a long time, teaching a long time, but I have to say that you were one of the best. You were one of the best coaches and really instructors I've ever seen, whether it's in the martial arts industry, whether it's on the football field, on the court. I mean, it was amazing. So I want to tell you how, you know, really how honored I am to have you here, because I think what you are about to say, I know you're going to drop some nuggets. I know it's going to help some people.
Well, now I don't know if I can live up to that intro, but thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, those accolades.
Absolutely. So with regards to your biography, right, it is, wow, like I knew a little bit about you, but I didn't know all about you until you said it to me. But I'm going to, you know what, I can't do it justice. Let me let you go into that.
Yeah, you asked for a bio. And so I'm a Christian, and I have a spiritual base. I'm also a husband of 34 years. I'm a father of 4, but it all started as a child in North Carolina, being raised by a wonderful mother and father, and I have a brother and sister. And then I decided to go into the military school, just to see what it was like. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Started off at Marion Military Institute in Marion, Alabama, and then I transferred to the Citadel, where I graduated and went into the Army on active duty. And I wound up doing an active duty stint for close to 9 years before I got off active duty and went in the National Guard. I wound up doing 30 years in the military.
Wow.
Never intended to do that, but it's just the way it happened.
Wow.
And very blessed to be given great opportunities to excel and to lead and to train and to be around not only people of my age or older, but then the younger people coming in.
Right.
And as a father, I have 4 boys, and you know, I saw, you know, how I can start to train them, and trust me, being hit with every stereotype in the world, being Southern military, I was getting hit with everything. You're going to be that guy, and so I had to fight ways to not be that guy, but to get the job done.
Right.
So over the years, what I've tried to adopt and preach to others is, you know, you don't have to be the person telling your kid exactly what to do and how to do it.
Right.
It's about getting it done, and how do you do that? And just like, you know, the Lord works through us in strange and mysterious ways, I use community, and I use people and great influences to do that. And then I hope that myself, I can be that for another kid like Carson, your son.
Absolutely.
Who I remember distinctly coming in. And so I've been coaching football, youth football, for 17 years now.
Wow.
And started off as just a dad volunteer. So I was sitting on the sidelines. I'll never forget it. I was that dad sitting there one time. My first kid was going through, and I watched him go 11 plays during a scrimmage and not touch a kid. And I came to the coach after practice, and we just moved here, and I said, "Hey, Coach, you know, not for nothing, I played in high school, but I'm pretty sure that there's no play, or let alone 11 plays, where on defense that kid's told don't touch anybody." And he looked me square in the eyes and he said, "That's a great observation." I said, "You got 9, Coach." He goes, "And you know, if you really want to do something, volunteer to coach."
Okay, and that was it.
So the next year, he essentially said, put your money where your mouth is.
You took the challenge, right?
And I did. So I started my next year coaching. You know what I told them I wanted to do? I said, I want to coach the kids that aren't getting engaged in the game.
Right.
I want to coach so I want to be your remedial coach. You guys have it. So whenever Johnny is not engaging, send him over to me.
Right.
Let me run him through some drills. Let me get his head back on straight.
Yeah.
And these are kids that were 7 and 8 years old.
Now, I want to ask you about that because the whole premise of the show, right, is really like, if you look at where we're at as a local community, state, national, you see, like, it's so scary. You see the problems that we have, right? And we're so polarized. Now we're in election year. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, our kids are falling. A lot of our kids are really struggling and really struggling. And parents want to be successful in raising great kids. They want to be able to raise excellence. Everybody wants to feel good about what they're doing, right? And so you made a point about how you were able to take these kids, and you want to work with those kids, the one that really were having problems engaging.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely talk to me a little about that. Like,
I've noticed over the years, again, 30-year military veteran, watching the new recruits come in, and then doing my own little test, data set test of what I'm seeing in the youth of our kids. My opinion is that, especially for young boys, they're told, sit down, be quiet, stop, you're too much. And they get put in a box.
Right.
And then when they're allowed to be out of that box, they don't know how to react. My personal belief, not a psychologist, is we're geared. I know my kids, my boys, they're geared. They've got to let this out. They've got to go do something.
You think it's just in the DNA?
And I say, especially in football, and you've got it in martial arts where it's actually it's contact.
Right.
They have to be able to do that in a controlled environment, but they've got to be able to do it. Otherwise, it's still there. I've watched mothers and fathers all the time say, "No, I don't want my son to play that. I'm afraid they're going to get hurt. I'm afraid they're going to do this." I have a person who played in the NFL, and they've got concussion protocols, and in their mind, they are visualizing this NFL player hitting a 7-year-old. I'm like, "No, ma'am, sir.
Right.
They're 7-year-olds on 7-year-olds. We call them bobbleheads. They're running around bumping into each other.
Right.
But they're allowed to be out there in that environment. They're allowed to be uncomfortable and learn how to thrive being uncomfortable. They're allowed to make contact and feel that physicality, and it's okay.
Right.
Versus when I get a kid who's 13 or 14 who's been told to stop, put your hands down, don't touch, quit. And now I'm telling them, I need you to hit somebody.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me like, whoa,
Right.
This is different. And it's just tough. I've watched the success and growth of kids, though, when the light bulb comes on, and I tell parents all the time, don't get upset. Every child has a clock.
Right.
The Lord's got a plan for them. That clock is different than what yours is. So let's just be patient. Let's continue to provide the right training, the right environment, and see how it progresses. I've had kids that were what we consider mandatory plays, because in our Pop Warner, there's a mandatory play rule and requirements.
Yep.
Everybody has to play so many plays. And there were kids that didn't want to play more than their number of plays.
Didn't want to.
No, they're like, I'm good. Let me get my 8. And then there were kids who, we have to force in, to get this going. And I've watched those same kids become starters in high school and play in college.
Yeah.
And at the youth level, they just didn't get it. But they were able to thrive in that environment. So
once you got them in there, and it was like, after they discovered what was possible and what they could do, they got addicted to it, right? And they really grew into it, and they enjoyed it, right?
For a lot of kids, and again, all of them are different. There are some that thrive in other areas. I like the physicality of the contact sports because, especially in our young men today, it gives them their own personal boundaries. I know now what I'm capable of and what I'm not capable of.
Right.
Versus trying to figure it out in another environment where I'm not bound, and I may make a big mistake as an adult.
Which is really a good point, right? Like when you said, I figure out what I'm not capable
Sure.
of, and it kind of keeps
know my limits.
myself in check. I know my limits, right?
Right. We're not all created equal. We have equal opportunity, but we're not all. There's big, small, fast,
yeah.
and slow. There's everyone's got a
That's
different
why there's
skill
weight
set.
classes, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why we have. That's well, and we've done away with those at Pop Warner. Now it's just age based. Anyway, so much success in helping with the youth, especially in the contact sport of football. I thoroughly enjoyed.
What would you say if you had to look back and you had to say there was one or two like key distinctions in your life? What were they that got you to where you are? Where you have, I mean, you've been married 34 years. You have four great boys. You know, I mean, you have so much success and so much joy to look back on.
Oh yeah,
you know, and still much to be a part of, but.
I go back to as a youth, my parents being very supportive of us playing sports, and this was back when your parents dropped you off at a sporting event, and they were gone for 3 hours and came back to pick you up. They didn't sit there and watch.
Yeah.
They didn't sit there and video your practices.
Right.
They didn't sit there and critique film. But it goes back to the coaches that I was blessed to have in my life. Everything from youth football, and then my high school coach, Coach Tad Balcom in North Carolina, who's still a friend of mine today, who instilled in his team there spirituality, team. He instilled principles and values as a person.
Right.
And from those, that's, again, what made me interested in the military. And then when I got in the military, I was like, I like this sort of structure. And again, there's a lot of spirituality in the military. There's structure, and you're always training to go somewhere and annihilate an enemy. So you've got that contact in the back of your mind always.
Yeah, I'd like to take a deeper dive into that word structure, and it seems like that's a common theme for you in how you built your life, right? Like, because I watched when you had and by the way, can we just talk about what you do with Pop Warner?
Right.
Like that, I mean, I know you're the commissioner, but
right.
I have to brag, like that 1 year, well, there were 2 years I had Carson in it, and the first year we went all the way to Superbowl.
Right.
Can you talk about how you took these kids that were basically, well, you can tell the story, right? A lot of them, they were the first year, and you took them from.
The answer there was I had an amazing group of coaches, volunteer dads, that had no personal agendas other than all of them love the game, love the kids, and let's just see how hard we can coach them and how far they'll go. And then we had kids and parents that all bought into it.
Yep.
So it started with a good structured platform. I like to think that over the years of me coaching, one of the things I did well with new dads coming in is provide this base or this structure or this process, and then let the dads that have the energy and the first time doing it, because again at that year I'd been coaching for about 10 years,
right?
And these dads amazing dads came in, and
anyway, I wasn't one, by the way.
Now,
I was
well,
watching.
you were on the sidelines.
I was on the sidelines,
but I do recall you were.
I was throwing good energy out there.
And just so the audience knows, your son came in who was an amazing athlete, but we had 12 other kids that were amazing athletes, and your son with one of those, we put him on the offensive line, and everybody's looking at why is he on the O line, and I'm like, well, look at the 5 guys that are better runners than him right now, and he could be, but he was such a great kid, and what he did with that role was help us win a national championship as a little guy on the O line, and took that role, and then what happened when he got to high school? Doors opened up, and there lied the opportunity for him to jump into a skilled player's position.
Right.
And now he's one of the best receivers in the state of Florida, and he's playing at the highest level. And he'll tell you right now, I remember when I had to play O-line.
I remember that.
It was awesome. It was amazing. And so
those are great stories.
But when you talk about structure and process,
I want to ask you about that structure.
The youth today. First of all, it's tough for parents to give it to them directly because they see them every day. But when other people around them, whether they be teachers or whether they be your neighbor, whether they be your coach, all are preaching the same, after a while they go, okay, I'm going to jump into this structured thing and see how it goes. Us dads would meet on the side and talk to each other about how we could better influence the other kid, their kid. So I'm not coaching my kid. Will you help with this? Yeah. And I had, right now in my program at Lake Mary, we have 6 teams. Every team is full of players. Every coaching staff has 10 coaches on it. We are loaded with
Stacked.
volunteers
Yeah,
and
nice.
great quality people that are all trained and out there doing the right things.
Awesome.
But what I try to tell these dads today are the more you try to get into your son and you know you're seeing him every day, you're gonna bump heads.
Right.
Find another good dad that you like that he'll listen to. You know, I've got Tyson Henshaw here in the community who coached Noah since he was 6 years old as QB. I've got Balin Trujillo who coached, and these are people who I know personally love to death, and I know they're telling him the right things because we talk about it. I'm a big advocate of community. So your original question is, how did I do it?
Right.
I was surrounded by great people, and I've been blessed enough to be put in a position to help put other good people together to help grow these kids in this environment.
So you think community is a big part of this deal? So
It has to be. No family today
Right.
can do this on their own. I don't care if you're a single mother,
Sure.
if you're a single father, or even if you're together and you've got 1, 2, or 3 kids. If you're going to try to do this all by yourself, you got a tough road.
Right.
If you don't have not only family around you, but just other good people in their lives, whether it be preachers or pastors or leaders of church, or a teacher that they enjoy, a coach that they enjoy, a neighbor. I've had long conversations with other neighbors because I know my kid's going over there. Say, hey man, can you talk to him about this? We're having some issues, and we do the same to each other. It's that kind of community involvement that's really been it's exponentially raised our ability to raise
Gotcha.
kids.
And you think that's maybe something that is suffering nowadays, right? Like
It's tough to find. Not every family. Well, first of all, you look where families have to live. Look at the cost of living it is today. I've got my oldest son. He and his wife just had a newborn, and we were just sitting there the other day. For them to live in this Central Florida area, it's almost a requirement they both work.
Right.
And I see that. So when I was coming up in the military, my wife had some work, but for the most part she didn't. And then we started having kids, and then she came back to work after all the kids were in school. But we were blessed enough to have her at home and again be surrounded by a community that were all going through the same thing. We're in the military,
Right.
So that was a plus.
Okay.
So
Let me ask you.
community's huge.
Community is huge. Structure. What makes an excellent kid? We say raising excellence. In your mind, what is excellence?
So, excellence can be measured 100 different ways. The way I look at it, a kid that respects those around him, not only just other kids, but other parents and authority, that's tough. With all the things the kids are exposed to today on social media and in the world, I know I'll see my kids come home and do and say things. I'm like, I know you didn't learn that here.
Right.
And we
especially
have
with the military
correct.
upbringing and everything. I mean,
And-
that's just it's all respect, right?
Well, you can try your best to be as structured as you want, and at the end of the day, the rest of the world gets a vote, right? I always say the enemy gets a vote, the devil gets a vote. You're always going to be combating that. But excellence, what makes an excellent kid? Wow, I love them all. I think every kid has the opportunity and the chance to be excellent. And all these kids are going to fall short, and all these kids are going to make mistakes. What I see today in a lot of parenting is a zero defect mentality. My kid's messed up, so I need to take him to therapy. Oh, my kid's messed up, I've got to get him on medication. Oh, my kid's done this, he's not doing that. I'm like, for goodness sake, let him be a kid.
Right.
I had one mother one time who said to me, she goes, I have a question, Coach. You told me I'd come to you. But my son is having the hardest time focusing in class. He can be sitting there doing his stuff, and if a kid's got a toy over here, he can't focus on his thing. He's focused on that. And I went, you're describing a kid.
Yeah.
Stop it. Let him
like
be.
me.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I always go, did he cuss the teacher?
Right.
Did he hit somebody? No.
Right.
Okay, he's just being a kid. And this goes back to my theory of getting them outside,
Right.
getting something physical that they can do to release, to just get there. Now, I don't think every child or every kid they don't all need that, but most do.
Sure.
A lot of them do. but let the kids be kids. We're so quick to label.
Yeah.
We're so quick now to medicate. I was shocked around the world. Again, different cultures, places, and you move different places, and you go to one community, and almost everybody on the street are on some kind of medication.
Right.
And I think there's a place for that, but it can't be 9
it
out of
is.
10. After a while, it becomes to me, hey, that's just what we do, and I just have a problem.
And you said something that really, really caught my attention. You just said a zero defect mentality.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Which is really interesting. And I think that really kind of hits the nail on the head. And so it really gets back to expectations, right?
Sure.
Like, what is our expectation of our kids and what are they supposed to be like? So we talk about excellence. Well, it really starts with, as a parent, like, what are my expectations? What are my expectations? What are my standards, right?
Right. Well, we can have all the expectations and dreams we want, but I can't pray you into heaven, right? Okay, you got to do that, right? I can have all the expectations. I want my child to be a doctor, a lawyer, attorney, or an engineer, but they're all born with a special talent.
Sure.
You were born with a talent. I like to coach kids and tell them all the time, especially the young adults, I said, the best thing you can do is get paid to do something you love doing.
That's it. That's what I say that every day.
and if you find, I'm like, what do you love? Most of them say, I don't know. I say, what are you good at? I don't know. I say, can you find something that someone's always told you, you're always so nice, or you're always so efficient. You always clean up. Have you ever been complimented on by? I said, look into that.
Right.
In there somewhere is a gift that you may have. And that you enjoy doing. So many times today we send kids, off to college. They have no idea what they want to do. They're just going to college because they're afforded the opportunity. Right. They're not coming out with a hard skill. They're coming out with a piece of paper.
Right.
They've got no hard skill. Then there's those who go and they become architects, engineers, doctors, lawyers. So they've got a hard skill. So many times we put an expectation on a kid without exploring them. I have some great friends who their child didn't want to go to college, moved out to California.
Right.
He said, you know what? I'm going to go out there and just try my best to see where else I fall in line. He's hugely successful.
Yeah.
And versus he had full means and opportunity to just go straight into college. He's like, you know what? I'm just not that. I don't feel like that. I'm going to go out and do this. He's doing fantastic.
Because he followed his.
He felt it's something he felt versus an imposed expectation that we have.
So there was probably something at the home. There was probably maybe encouraging that, or at least accepting of that.
Encouraging creativity, innovation, allowing the kids within boundaries. Okay, I'm not saying let them go do whatever. No, because given that much, they're going to take even more.
Right.
But I firmly believe that every child has a special gift, a God-given gift they have, and it's us, as me as a parent and a coach and a community person, to help that child find it. And I don't think that every kid is going to be football, college, NFL. What I do think is that their participation in a contact sport, in a team sport, in an organized event with other parents and people being uncomfortable, the kids being uncomfortable, and they grow.
Absolutely.
They just grow. I tell parents all the time, he goes, well, he's more of a soccer player. I'm like, you want to be a better soccer player? Let him play football for a year. You want to be a better baseball player? Let him play contact sport for a year.
Right.
You want to be a better wrestler, a better martial arts?
Right.
Let them do something like this for a year and then watch how they grow.
Oh yeah.
Even in the band, it doesn't matter. Be a band member. Anything that you can grow with as a team, as a kid.
What would you say if you had to say like 3 takeaways that let's just say you've got a single mom. You know what I mean? You've got a single mom, and she's got 2 kids. She's working. She's got and she's
trying to do it all herself. And she's busting her butt to do and be everything.
And she's trying to really hold with society.
And she's told she's got to do and our society has told her that you've got to be this. You've got to be that strong, independent lady, and you've got to do it. And I would tell her, stop. I'd say, hey, look around you. Look around you at the quality people, men or women, that surround you, and ask for some help. and say, hey, I'd like to get my son or daughter into this program, but I can't get them there in the afternoons. Can we form a small group here where we can do this and everybody work together?
Yes.
And if you can't find anyone in your group to say yes, then you're in the wrong group. Find another group. Because the goodness in our society is out there. The good people are all around us.
Especially around here.
Sometimes they just need to be asked.
Right.
And
that's a good point.
it's it breaks my heart to watch some people try to do everything and they can't accomplish anything because they're trying to do it all. In the military, sometimes we'd say, an 80% solution being implemented is better than 100% sitting on the shelf.
Right.
And sometimes that's what you have to do in life.
Right.
You have to say, gosh, I don't have it all. I don't have all the answers right now, but I've got these, and I'm going to go with it. I've got good people around me, and I'm going to go with it. And if you don't, like I said,
reach out.
If you can't change your friends, change your friends.
Right. So yeah, it was huge, right? Huge. And sounds like a lot of your, as we're talking, I'm learning so much. A lot of your common theme really goes back to community. You know what I mean?
And we're so blessed to live in this area here.
It takes a village, right?
It does. Church.
Right.
Whether you're involved in a church or some spiritual community that's always about the youth and helping promote.
Yeah.
To a sporting group organization that we have that are throughout our state and throughout Central Florida here, throughout the country. My youngest son we've traveled the entire nation here in the last few years with him.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
watching what you guys do.
Well, I've seen goodness in action all around
amazing.
The country, and it's and ours happens to be in the football arena. And I come back to our FCA group and other organizations, and I say, look, guys, I'm here to spread the good news that God's alive and well in these sporting events. Let me tell you, every team and organization I went to, top 20 teams in the nation, every one of them had a spiritual component to their program.
And I want to ask you about that too. I want to ask you about faith and how important that is to you. I know how important it is to you, but kind of the role that's played through your life and how it integrates through everything you do. I remember I saw what you did when you had these kids in a huddle, and you guys prayed, and it was part of everything, and everything you did.
I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in the Bible Belt. All right, so when I grew up, where I grew up, I knew one Catholic family, and I knew Jewish people existed. That was it.
Right.
And then when I moved here, I'm thrown into an entirely different melting pot. And I respect that. Then being in the military, where we have every religion, every race, we have it all.
Right.
And I was taught that again, there's no atheists in foxholes. And so I also learned I've also learned that at the core of a person's being is they will rely on higher faith. So what I've tried to do with the youth is introduce prayer and spirituality all the way down at the lowest levels, and then being respectful for the other religions around us. In the military, teach us to sort of have non-denominational prayers, and I've evolved that, and I give that to all my coaches as a blueprint to use, not mandating it, just saying I would recommend, and if you like, and I'll help you do this. And I've had parents from other religions, Jewish faith, say, hey, I'm not sure about this. So I will come listen to the prayer. And if you don't like it, talk to me about it.
Right.
I never have one say, they've all said, okay, got it. But what I do with that is
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm Jewish. I watched it and I listened. I was like, man, that is spot on.
But what I'm trying to spark in the kids is here's a grown man, and we can all come together as a community, as a group, as a small group. We can hold hands.
Right.
And we can say a prayer and dig deep to our own another level. We can try to get to another level like this.
Yep.
And I've just been so proud of being able to introduce that to all the faiths in this area and watch it grow. I have kids today who are, again, 17 years. They are out of school, out of college, in the workforce, and nothing more can make me more satisfied than to get a note or a call or a text now from them that says, hey, Coach, I still have my strength, courage, and honor prayer that you gave me. And
Carson's got his in the bedroom. We got it up on the wall. It's framed.
Right, and then I introduced, get there fast, do your job, and help your buddy. He goes, I do those 3 things in my sales job, and I'm slaying it. And I'm like,
Basics,
welcome, man. Congratulations. So.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Coach. Look, this has been so powerful. There's so many nuggets. Like I'm going to go back and really.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Really
Thank you for what you do in the community here, and from this aspect of it. And it's one thing to, get there fast as you've grown this business, and then do your job, which is for you to train the people around you in what you're a professional at, and then the third part of that is help your buddy. And so you're doing those things, whether you knew it or not.
I appreciate
you got there fast, you're doing your job, and now you're reaching out to help others. And if all of us just do a little bit of that, not only our community, not only our state and our country, our world can be a much better place.
Coach.
Amen. Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that was our first show, Raising Excellence. I hope everybody really enjoyed that. I've got a lot of nuggets. Hopefully you did too. That was Ephraim Grubbs, an amazing local football coach, a decorated military veteran, a father, and I hope you got as much out of that as I did. We'll see you guys next time.